Hello and welcome to another episode of Wellness with EAC. I am your host, Nicole Gwanzura, and I am so happy to be here. If you are new here, welcome. So glad to have you. And if you like to talk all things professional development, personal development, career wellness, and sprinkle in a little bit of your faith journey, you are in the right place. I would confidently say you are in the right place. So happy to have you. Grab a seat or turn up the volume. This is the place for you. If you are returning, thank you for your continued support. It is wonderful being here with you again. If you don't already know this about me, I am an early career development specialist. I really work hard to support a lot of universities as well as early career professionals think about how they're managing their finances while balancing their mental well-being on their journey to develop as who they are meant to be in their professional lives. And we wrap that up and we call it career wellness. Outside of that, I am a mama and I'm someone who's really passionate about women's ministry. So if any of those topics resonate with you, please hit subscribe on this podcast. I would love to continue the conversation. Feel free to send me a DM on LinkedIn is where I hang out the most, or send an email. The email will be in the show notes. I personally check them. I'm excited to connect with you. Today is another short and sweet episode. I really wanted to bring this conversation in because at this time, if you are a college student, you are probably thinking, well into your summer semester if you're taking some classes, or you are well into your summer if you're just taking a break for the year. You are probably gearing up to start your internship if you have not already. Next month we'll be celebrating Internship Awareness Week, Internship Celebration Week. So really exciting things going on there. But today I want to speak specifically to the student who does not have an internship this summer, that student who tried their best and couldn't land an internship. Who tried, really had high hopes, and it just didn't work out. I am here, first of all, to acknowledge that you are seen, you are heard, you are acknowledged in those challenges that you are going through. And I want you to know from someone who did not intern ever over the summer, because honestly, I was actually in summer school all of my summers in college so that I could finish up school. So for me, I was the first in my family to go to college in the United States. And so my family helped pay for some things, but for the most part, I had to figure out ways to pay for school. So I was a resident assistant so I could get housing. I had student loans, have student loans that I was working through to help me pay for my education and supplies adjacent to that. So working, or I guess not working over the summer, or working an internship that might not pay me, just wasn't an option for me. I was actually on a schedule to graduate and shave an entire year off of my graduation year. So I ended up graduating college in 3 years instead of the typical 4. And one of the major reasons was I just didn't want to straddle on too much educational debt because I was the one who was going to be paying for it. So I was not interning over the summer. And which is why that brought me to this conversation. And I recently had a conversation with someone who is not interning right now and trying to figure out what's next. So while you're here over the summer, I want to encourage you that the opportunities that you have this summer or leading into the fall still can help you in so many ways to achieve your goals, your career goals. It doesn't matter if you are a freshman, if you're a sophomore, junior, getting ready to go into your final year. And even if you don't have that internship, well, what can you do over the summer? You could see, are there places that you could volunteer at and just give some of your hours? Is there somewhere that you could volunteer and get do some tutoring? Is there a summer course you could take for summer too? Is there some way you can keep yourself occupied that would still give you a sense of purpose? And honestly, if that means that right now, okay, nothing else worked out, so maybe you've got to go back to your old, area job, or you were working at a grocery store, or you were doing some other kind of work, then it's okay if that opportunity is there and you've got to make a little bit of money so that you can get your savings in check, you can get to a good place. So when you go back to school, absolutely do that. There is no shame in making sure that you're providing for the support that you need when you go back to school, because future you is going to thank you for preparing that conversation, preparing the resources that you needed ahead of time. So thinking about that, what can you do? Can your old boss hire you for some part-time hours if you want to just take some time to rest as well? Is this a good time now to also just network with some of those people maybe that weren't able to hire you right now, but in the fall, there may be opportunities for externship. There may be opportunities for some small internship opportunities that they have that you could do while you are in school. Or sometimes a lot of companies will do industry days of sorts, or will invite you to an event that they have. And those opportunities are a great way to get in front of folks that may be able to hire you for future opportunities. So there's a lot you can do beyond just hanging out at home and wallowing about the opportunity or sitting in a woe is me moment. Take the time, acknowledge what's going on, but I want to encourage you that it is not the end of the world. And again, as I told you a little bit of my story, I could not intern over the summer. I had things I needed to do in order for me to plan ahead for my future. But guess what? I turned out okay. I turned out okay. And let me tell you how I did that. So since I wasn't interning over the summer, I had to find opportunities during the school year. So as I told you, I was a resident assistant. So that was a leadership role on campus. I was also serving in a leadership role for our diversity awareness programming board. And so that allowed me to do really cool things, such as, understanding how our student affairs office worked, and budgeting, and understanding what our budget looked like to hire speakers that would come on behalf of our events. And our director at the time would also allow me to be a part of the conversation when it came to negotiating artist rates, or negotiating what kind of resources that the artist will need backstage, and setting up logistics. What does that look like on campus? And for me, that taught me so much in terms of leadership, and also being able to bring in artists and understand what it looks like behind the scenes. So I was gathering that leadership experience. And as a resident assistant, of course, the creative side of me always got to be nurtured, and also just learning how to follow student conduct rules and abide by the university's policies, while also developing good professional relationships with my students, so that there was a sense of respect, a sense of camaraderie, and then we could also just communicate if there were any issues and get ahead of things before it got too challenging. And when I wasn't doing that as well, being involved on campus, I wanted an internship to try and figure out if I wanted to stay in marketing. So marketing was my major when I was an undergrad, and there was a company called internships.com. And it's now owned by Chegg. So it was bought out by Chegg. So if you are buying your books through Chegg and all of that, internships.com was a part of it was a company that would give you, essentially, it was like a search engine. You could get some internships, you could get some project work and things like that. So I worked for the job board essentially. And then I would help promote internship opportunities on campus and help students kind of figure out what was going on, and how they could improve their careers. But I also got to do a little bit of product marketing, which was also really fun and a little bit intimidating, because then there was a project where I had to promote a certain product. I don't know if you all have ever seen the Red Bull trucks on college campuses, and folks are driving and promoting different products, and or if you've seen any kind of ambassadors for certain companies. So I think Victoria's Secret and Pink have ambassador programs. There's a lot of organizations that use ambassador programs on campus. And so for me, it was very specifically the client that internships.com was working with was 5-Hour Energy. So if you haven't heard of 5-Hour Energy, I'm sure if you look up at every grocery store checkout, tiny little bottle. And so my job, they gave me a certain number of boxes of product that I shared. I was encouraged to share with the students, because college students got to stay alert, got to stay awake. I would do a little bit of a presentation and help them understand, one, what internships.com would offer, give out t-shirts, give out some of these products, and then also collect feedback. Did they like it? Did they like the taste? What did they not like about it? How did they feel? Different things like that. And now, I mean, 5-Hour Energy is literally everywhere, but at the time, it was just starting. So I got to help with a little bit of that product research as they were trying to figure out their brand marketing. So that was a really cool internship. And I had an amazing manager that was very attentive, very informative, and it was paid. And I was doing this while I was a student on campus as well. So I was able to balance that. And it was a remote internship, y'all. That was one of the first things. This was way, way back in the day, before even remote internships were a thing. But here I was with my remote internship, getting paid, got to pass out swag, got to know other students on campus, got a feel for if a career in maybe product management or product marketing might be in my future. So I got to experience that. I believe it was sophomore year of college. And then the following year, because of my RA experience, I wanted to look a little bit further into higher education as a career. And so I went and talked to the folks at Career Services, and I asked them what opportunities were available right there on campus that I could get involved in. I expressed my interests, and because I'd had a good rapport with the director and I had made sure that I was keeping myself visible, showing up to events and things like that, there was a familiarity already on campus with a number of student affairs, student activities related folks, and then also in career development. So when I went and asked, they didn't have an internship at the time that was available for what I needed. However, there was a committee that was being put together that was supposed to reimagine what career services would look like on campus. And they called me to be a student representative. And so for, the next couple of weeks, I think it was the rest of that semester, I got to be on this team that included the career services team. It also had leadership as high as the provost level on campus. So imagine that kind of exposure as a young student, as a young college student, to understand how leadership makes decisions behind the scenes of how that affects the university. But that is something that was not even a regular internship, was not something that would have been otherwise open. But because I asked and I expressed my interest and I kept my network open, it allowed for them to think of me and keep me in the forefront. And that's part of why I'm encouraging you as well to keep networking with folks. Even though they said no, it might have been a not this time. Right. But if you're in the forefront of their minds, maybe it's okay, you know what? There might be opportunities for you later. So just keeping that conversation. And so that's essentially how I was able to intern while I was on campus. while building my leadership skills, while exploring what other opportunities were available for me to be able to explore what a career in higher education could look like, or potentially a career in marketing. How do I report and respond to certain types of management? How do I balance schoolwork and figure that, that piece out as well? So I learned so much, and they were very real, very transferable skills that I was able to then translate onto my resume. So it was awesome when I was looking for a job after graduation. I could put, yes, I was an intern with internships.com, as well as a reimagining career services intern. I ended up going back to grad school, and I've told a little bit of that story. I'll tell it in another episode, but it was something that I could continue to talk about, and the experiences I could talk about in interviews. And so fast forward to where I am today. What did I already tell you I do? I'm in early career development, and that seed was planted so long ago. And I really loved how they were thinking strategically about how career services could be shifted, about the student experience. And that really deeply resonated with me and ended up shaping so much of where my career direction was going. And also confidence boosting, in that if you go ask, the answer may not always be yes. Sometimes it might be no. Sometimes it might be not right now, but you won't know until you ask. So just wanted to share that bit of information with you all as a form of encouragement, because there are still opportunities. Even if you've just graduated and you're thinking, well, what am I going to do? I haven't gotten a job yet. What am I going to, what are my next steps? The same advice still applies to you. Go ahead and network. Go ahead and have a conversation, because as I mentioned in my last solo episode, having a good resume is just not enough anymore. You need to be able to utilize your network and reach out to folks. So keep doing that. I don't want you to be discouraged. I want you to be encouraged and auditing, well, what could I be doing? How could I be saving some money to help my next semester be a little bit more manageable? I don't have to stress as much about work or finances, and I don't have to take out as many student loans as well, because you've got to pay those back at some point. So I hope this is something that encourages you. Let me know, what was the most outstanding part for you? What was the most poignant part that really resonated with you? I'd love to know. And if you are a professional that is working in career development or student engagement, I would love your perspective on what I just talked about. I would love to even have you on the show. Maybe we can talk about these topics, because then we can have this one-on-one around how you're supporting your students and your perspective and your story. So that's a call for guests. If you are in the career development space, or you work in general in the student engagement, student activities space, I would love for you to bring in your perspective. Reach out to me via DM on LinkedIn or email me. The information will be in my in the description box. Or if you know someone who fits that criteria or can talk around those topics, please reach out to me. I am always open to really, really good guests. Until next time, y'all, take care and be well. Subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already. I am so excited and wishing you all the best.